Good day everyone, I am Victor, the moderator for this webinar. I welcome everyone for today's webinar, which is HUD changes to section 504 Fair Housing Regulations. I would now like to introduce our presenter for today, Paul Flogstad. Paul has been involved in real estate industry for past 38 years. Paul Flogstad is the owner of Property Management Solutions. He provides training and consulting services nationwide to owners, management companies, multi-housing associations, and state and federal agencies. I would now like to hand over the floor to the speaker. Over to you, Paul.
Very good, Victor. Thank you so much. Well, today we're going to be talking about a lot of the proposed changes that HUD is coming up with the Section 504. Go through what Section 504 is and what they're proposing to change. Now, the current rules published in 1988 prohibit specific acts of discrimination and impose accessibility requirements on new construction and alterations to existing buildings. Now, a lot of new issues and concerns have arisen in the intervening 35 years, and HUD's proposed overhaul of this section provides an opportunity to address a lot of the questions raised by HUD and other suggestions on how Section 504 rules should be negotiated. It's now 2023, and do you know what where your transition plan is? HUD is addressing this whole 504 program, and their goal is to overhaul the existing Section 504 regulation. HUD's current Section 504 rules prohibit specific acts of discrimination and impose accessibility requirements on new construction. So in announcing the planned overhaul, HUD acknowledged that its existing Section 504 rules need to be updated. So comments for the public have been accepted through July 24th, just this past week. But you can still go to HUD.gov and supply your input if you wish to as well. Considering the costs and risks that they impose, HUD Section 504 rules have had a tremendous day-to-day impact on housing providers and managers. Section 504 impacts the obligation of housing providers and the managers and providers of assisted housing must operate such housing when it's viewed in its entirety. It's readily accessible and usable by individuals with a disability. Section 504 provides that no otherwise qualified individual with a disability in the United States shall, solely by reason of his or her disability, be excluded from any participation, be denied benefits, or be subject to discrimination under any program actively receiving federal financial assistance, or FFA. The regulations require that the design, construction, and alteration of the projects meet any physical accessibility requirement. Section 504 regs have a great impact on housing providers. This includes complying with the operational and construction requirements. 504 regulations were originally published in 1988 and have not been significantly updated since then. HUD recognized the need for reform after they continued to find widespread discrimination on the basis of disability in HUD-assisted programs. The competing requirements relating to accessibility may have contributed to this outcome, and many entities are subject to more than one federal accessible law and architectural standards. The situation would require not only applying for multiple accessibility laws, architectural standards, and guidelines, but also state and local laws, building codes. Proposed changes, again, HUD intends to revise the regulations to clarify these recipients' obligations. Revisions to the definition of individuals with disability would be consistent. Percentage of units that are mobility accessible and hearing accessible. Construction and design of accessible housing. What HUD is looking for and what areas they're looking for to be affected by this. 504 says no otherwise qualified individual with a disability in the United States shall solely be reasons of her disability. HUD intends to revise its Section 504 regulations to clarify the recipient's obligations, revisions to the definitions of individuals with disabilities, examples of direct and indirect discrimination, housing choice vouchers, tenant rental assistance, and affordability as well. The advance notice of proposed rulemaking seeks the public's input on changes that the Department of Housing and Urban Development or the ADA Rehabilitation Act. The Department intends for this to promote revisions to HUD Section 504 regulations. Congress requires the head of each executive agency to promulgate rules and regulations to implement the statute. Recipients of any financial assistance from HUD must ensure that their programs and activities are readily accessible. HUD recipients must also ensure that designated accessible dwelling units are dispersed around. In fiscal year 2020, HUD received 461 complaints from individuals and organizations alleging disability discrimination under Section 504. To date, the fiscal year 2023, HUD has received 202 complaints from individuals or organizations. Now they're proposing 13 different changes. In view of the ADA Amendments Act, change number 2 goes into change 3. Change 4. Recipients must operate each housing and non-housing when would require alterations to comply with the program of accessibility. Tenant-based housing choice vouchers. Change 6. Most entities are subject to more than one federal accessibility law. Change 7. Change 8. Advances in the type of accessibility and features. Individuals who are blind or have low vision, examples of such features may include audible elevator indicators. Specific accessibility features assist individuals. Change 9. Change 10, reasonable accommodation, that it may be useful to recipients to understand the broad array of types of accommodations. Change 11 undertakes 2 types of investigations under Section 504. May conduct periodic compliance reviews. Change 12, the last one, the department recognizes individuals with disabilities who are also members of other protected class groups, race, color, national origin, sex. All of these summarize the proposed changes to Section 504. Now, one thing we need to talk about is policies. So I think we've covered a lot of these changes, or the proposed changes to Section 504 and the changes that will be coming down the road. I think we have covered a lot of these situations, and I would encourage you to stay abreast of any of these changes. Now, HUD is in the process of accepting any information, and you can write to HUD. Just write to hud.gov/section 504, and I think it's going to be a beneficial program for all of your tenants, as well as you as a landlord. You will know exactly what HUD means and what they require instead of this constant guessing. So I think it's a good thing. So keep abreast of that. And I thank you for attending this afternoon. Again, thank you for attending, and hopefully you have a good afternoon. Take care.
Thank you, Paul. That does conclude the session for today. Thank you everyone for participating. You may all disconnect now. Have a great day ahead. Take care.